here's the end of service video for the Harbor Freight 68887 welder. It died actually over a month ago. I got the replacement. Is the 61849. Not a lot of difference between the two, and that's why at the store you may never even notice the difference. But if you're shopping used, you might want to understand a few things. One, the warranties are probably going to be expired on any of these, which is greatly going to reduce any perceived value or actual value with regard to the used tool. Also, Harbor Freight's notorious for not having spare parts available, but you may find other used or scavenged welders around and strip them for spare parts. What you are less likely to be able to do is get parts from that swapped with a brand new welder, or it's not likely to be worth your time. The feed mechanisms between a newer model and the older model very similar, but there's enough differences that we would have a lot of concerns over parts interchangeability. Not sure whether they're interchangeable or not, but in a lot of respects they well could be. And so it can be worth stripping some extra parts off of this just to have them around, especially if you own 3 or 4 of the welders. You know, if you're running a small assembly operation or something like that, you may have multiple machines around and you may want to have spare parts. The little beefing up here, that helps keep the wire from binding while you're have the hose flex. The hoses seem to be about the same length. The torches are actually quite different. Now they're both Tweco compatible, and when your old one goes bad, you want to take this tip off and keep it if it's not all beat up. You may want to keep the other little tip off of that, but those are like 30-40 cents, so it may or may not be worth your time. If you're going to be really scavenging for recycled material, you want to get at the copper winding inside of here, which is actually a big chunk of the cost of the welder. A little bit of work to pry it out of there, but that's where you would get more recycle value out of it. Also, these fans tend to be pretty decent standalone stuff, although I believe they're 24 volt. And there's a little DC AC converter that works as part of this, and I believe that's a DC fan. The torch on a newer model is very improved. It's got a better trigger mechanism, a larger trigger mechanism. It has a small wire bale hanger. The gas diverter part is a little better. And on a gas shield welder, these really matter. On a Flux-cored welder, maybe not as much. But the thing is, if you save one from the old one and use it on your gas shield welder, if one gets dented up or goes bad, that's not a bad thing. We got right and left mold as opposed to an upper to lower. And I think the newer one just, it's a better design for the same money. So here's what it looks like. The 61849 welder. I'm going to reference how to put new wire in, modifications, upgrades, anything like that. You can reference my older video. If you're in a point where you're transitioning from one to the other, yes, save some spare parts out of it. Anything to do with this little feed mechanism can be used on this one. Okay, so anything with there, you just swap it right over. The capacities, the wire types, all that stuff swaps right over. It's all basically the same stuff. Your method for using is the same stuff. If you have any questions, you can post them in the comments below. I use these machines extensively. Even though this one went bad at roughly 18 months, I use it every week. This one's paid for itself in the first couple weeks, no problem at all. It paid for itself by the second job. And I've been using it on this trailer. Get pretty good power flow. They do work a little better when they're new. We just kind of clean this up with a wire brush, paint it, and we're good to go. If you can use one with generator power, let's say on a 5 kW generator, you're going to get a little bit better performance than you will even plugging into a 20 amp outlet. You can use these on a 15 amp outlet. You just don't want to do it regularly. If you have any other questions, of course, put them in the comments below, and I'll try to link the other relevant videos about these welders, mostly involving this one, but this one has reached end of cycle at about 18 months. We'll be recycling it, throwing the rest of it away, and that's that.